Morning everybody from Lochranza on the Isle of Arran, where today I thought it would be rude not to try the other ferry route on the Isle, and that is of course Lochranza to Claonaig over on the mainland over there. It's a half an hour crossing, I believe, with the MV Catriona. So yeah, nice little there and back kind of trip for me today, and we're going to show you what the ferry is all about. So come with me. When the ferry gets in, we're going to board. We're going to pay on board. That's no problem at all. We're going to head over those foot passengers and then come back a little bit later. I'll see you on the ferry.
Facilities at the ferry terminal here are basically a small waiting room, which is more than I was expecting, to be honest. There are toilets inside and it's warm, and what more do you need? And the waiting area itself is substantially better than the one on the other side, as you'll see in a few minutes. And at this time of year, October, we were just about still on xcalmac's summer timetable with 7 to 8 sailings each way, depending on which day you're travelling. According to xcalmac's website, the winter timetable kicked in on the 20th of October this year, 2025, where sailings are reduced to just 5 a day. We were catching the 13:15 service this afternoon, and I must say the weather was a little bit better than the last time we were here a couple of days earlier. It's still a bit windy though. I stood on the pier as our ferry, which was indeed the MV Catriona, approached. She skirted the end of the pier before lowering her loading ramp onto the slipway with a loud bang. And after the vehicles had driven off, it was time for us to board. We had to wait for the cars, caravans and vans to drive on before being called onto the ferry ourselves. There were only 2 foot passengers on this sailing today, myself and Joe. And once on the ferry, there were markings on the vehicle deck guiding you to the port side of the ship, where, as per usual, I raced up the stairs to get a good view of our departure, completely forgetting that we hadn't actually paid for our trip yet. Fortunately, my assistant and runner was able to sort that out, but just to note that although there was a member of the xcalmac staff present on land at both ends of the crossing, tickets are all purchased on board. So we set off across the Kilbrannan Sound on a journey that would take approximately 30 minutes. The MV Catriona was the third of xcalmac's hybrid ferries built at the Ferguson shipyard at Port Glasgow. The name was chosen following a public competition and comes from the main character in a novel by Robert Louis Stevenson. Launched in 2015, sea trials were completed in August 2016 and she entered service a month later in September of that year. The Catriona can carry a maximum of 150 passengers and 23 vehicles. The diesel generators feed power to electric propulsion motors, which can also be powered by twin lithium-ion battery packs carried on board. This can therefore reduce fuel consumption by at least 20% and is capable of a reduction of 38% compared to conventional ferries of a similar size. I mean, that has to be a good thing, surely. With a service speed of just 9 knots, it's not particularly fast crossing, but it is certainly better for the environment. There is seating on one side of the ferry only, and it is located on both the top deck and the lower outside deck here, where most of it is covered. As you can see, you can pretty much walk the length of the ferry, and once you drop down onto the lower external staircase, this will bring you to the inside space, where there are toilets and some inside seating, which was a bit like the seats you get on a rubbish bus, I thought, or an old Latvian train. But it's warm in here, and it's also really quite close to the waterline. There is some luggage storage here which can be useful, and just in front of that is guest services. or reception, or the information centre, or maybe it's just a desk where the crew member on board can take payments. A nice touch, I thought, was the community notice board here with useful information like bus timetables for Arran. You can also take a copy of the free Isle of Arran maps available here, either side of the Behave Yourself on Board notice, which is sadly quite a common sight on all forms of public transport these days, or at least in the UK anyway.
Right guys, so yeah, on board the MV Catriona in the passenger lounge, port side as we head across the water. Quite low down actually, quite near to the water. I don't know if you can see behind me, but we're going to have a bit of a walk around for an hour or so on the other side. It's looking a bit rough. We'll have to come straight back. No, we won't, we'll have a walk, of course we will. Yeah, quite a smooth vessel this, I think. The water's not particularly choppy, there's a bit of a wind blowing out there. There's nothing like a cafe or anything like that, obviously, but there is some nice covered and comfortable seating inside if the weather turns nasty. Right, but yeah, like I said, the sun's coming out, so we can head back out on deck.
And so we did, climbing up both flights of stairs to the top of the ferry again to take in the views with Lochranza in the distance here and the lower lying landscape of Kintyre before us. Again, the weather was so changeable, but you know, I'll take that for the relatively quiet time of year, and if I had more time I would have been tempted to carry on up towards Tarbert and maybe even the islands of Jura and Colonsay beyond that. There is so much to do around here on the west coast, but whether the bus timetables can facilitate this is another thing entirely, isn't it? Well, in the meantime, I was quite happy up here, looking out across the sea, hoping to spot some wildlife and just taking in the fresh air. Enjoy the scenery with me as we continue across the Sound. As you can see, we were approaching Claonaig now, where we were bracing ourselves for a chilly walk along the beach. A couple of things to mention. There is actually Wi-Fi on board this vessel if you need it, and it was excellent with YouTube working well and other social media sites loading up no problem. I mean, honestly, I would not normally bother. I much prefer to watch the scenery, but for the purposes of this video, I thought I'd just let you know. And the price we paid for this foot passenger return crossing per person was £7.70. Let me know whether you think that's good value or not. Also, quick mention to the crew member on board we met, who was really friendly, talkative and helpful. I'll give it 5 minutes. So we approached the slipway at Claonaig, where the vehicle ramp was slowly lowered, and after a short wait for the vehicles to disembark, we made our way off the ferry along the designated foot passenger pathway. Here's the kind of waiting area on this side of the crossing, which has toilets, but the actual seating area is terrible, with a couple of benches and windows with no glazing. So, because it's so exposed to the elements, the whole area just gets completely soaked. The member of staff at this end does have a welfare van to sit in, which is essential really, but obviously that's more expense. Anyway, we did find a bus timetable here and the service seems minimal, to be honest, so yeah, like I said before, you really need to plan your trip carefully if you're thinking about onward travel. The 12:36 looked to be the best option here. Other than that, it's about a mile to the nearest settlement of Skipness, where there is a castle apparently. Not for us today though, we were going to have a walk around the beach and wait for the next ferry, but before that, I just took a couple of minutes on the windy pier to summarise the journey.
Right guys, so Claonaig and a nice little crossing I thought on the MV Catriona. She's making her way back over to Lochranza now, and it's funny, isn't it? It looked really dark on the approach to the jetty here, and I was talking to one of the crew members and he was like, oh, it wasn't supposed to be like this today, and then within like 2 minutes after getting off the ramp, it's like the sun's out again. It's just like the weather is so changeable in this part of the world, it's just unbelievable. But what did you think of the ferry? Let me know in the comments below. It's bog standard, take a few vehicles on board, 1 or 2 foot passengers, of which there were just the 2 of us today. Over the water, half an hour crossing, not many facilities, you wouldn't expect many really, and all the facilities that are there, seating, that's about it, inside and outside. We're on the port side heading over. So yeah, have you been on this ferry? Would you try it after watching this video? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. As always guys, until the next one, cheers for now.